Good afternoon. Hello. My name is Martin Coward, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour. We've been gathering together every day since the beginning of this pandemic and all the other crises that we've been going through to love and support each other through this. And I think probably now is, for me, more important than ever. I'm so grateful that I decided to, I didn't do this, by the way. I would say Joy, the wise woman, the divine within me, is the one that sort of pushes me through this every day. Truthfully, there are days when Martin doesn't really want to do it, but Joy, the wise woman, said, "I'll do it," and I do it, and then I'm always so grateful for it because I feel higher. I feel lifted up. I feel a higher level of vibration. I feel healed. I feel the spirit of others and the healing power of love as we come together to love and support each other through this difficult and challenging time in our lives. What we've been through is probably, for me, as I've mentioned earlier, it truly what we experienced last week with seeing our nation's capital and our sacred institutions attacked that way and destroyed, and people dying was just horrifying and tragic and heartbreaking at the deepest level of our being. Hey, Audrey, I'm so glad you're here. We've been through this together, and this is one way we've been able to love and support each other and others through this challenging time. And what occurred to me earlier this week was something I want to do more of, and that is practicing the art of being present. And another way of looking at it is practicing the art of love, of loving ourselves and loving each other. And I think we particularly need to be mindful of this practice today, because that is the law, is to love our neighbor and love as ourselves, and to love our enemy. Not even have enemies, really, because we really don't have enemies. The enemy is to the human. There's no human. There's no enemy of the being. These are just opportunities to learn, really. And as painful as this all is, we are growing. It is pushing the cosmos into a new era, which is why I think it's so important to really understand some of the basics and some of the reasons why we meditate. So I'm going to go back today, and I'm going to teach a little bit from my course, Practicing the Art of Being Present, Your Key to Living a Life of Love, Joy, and Prosperity. And you're welcome to watch these videos. And there's a practice at the end of the second one that I encourage you to consider for the next 90 days. That's what I'm doing. I committed the rest of this week to just letting go of all my to-do list, all the things that I thought I had to get done. Because you know what? It seemed like after last week, some of that stuff just doesn't matter. And I'll tell you something kind of interesting. So I made the determination yesterday. I'm just going to let go of all that stuff, and I'm going to practice when I preach. I'm going to get still, and I'm going to practice love. I'm going to practice meditation. I'm going to do my yoga. I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to do some self-care tomorrow. And that's what this practicing the art is all about. So let's understand, today we're going to talk about the technology, sort of the science behind the levels of consciousness and meditation. What's going on with us from a scientific perspective. So I think it gives us some idea as to why the power of meditation and why it's so powerful and why it works and how we use it to get our power back. And why through love, particularly loving our enemies, is how we transcend away from fear into love. And that's very important because love is how we create. Fear is how we destroy things. So it's important for us now to not fall into fear and not be driven by fear, but instead to fall up into love, unconditional love. That's what I'm saying, falling into the stillness of unconditional love. So let me get started. If you're joining me like Audrey did, please say hello so I know you're here. It's always nice to know you're here. I'm going to make my screen a little bit bigger, and I'm going to share it with you guys. We'll get rid of some banners. Hide current banner. Okay. All right. Just a second here. Practicing the art of being present. Your key to living a life of love, joy, and prosperity. That could easily be said as practicing the art of being love, of being in love, practicing the art of love. Because presence is the loving presence within us. Practicing the art of bringing the divine up into consciousness so we empower ourselves to create changes in the world. So if you're ready to create a life beyond, this is my course, by the way. So if you're ready to create a life beyond your wildest imagination, and aren't we ever? I mean, we've been through some wild, we're going through some dark wildness like we've never imagined. I think it's time to create some positive wildness, some positive change to create a world that's wilder than our wildest imagined from the golden perspective. And that's what we want to talk about today. And so this first course is it's all about creating a personal sanctuary, turning your life into a personal sanctuary, and that's acknowledging the sacred nature of our human life. That's what we celebrated with the birth of Christ and the Three Kings Day, was the universal Christ, the sanctuary and the miracle and the magic of the human being itself, and the fact that the human being is the creation of the divine, as a mirror for the divine to experience its creation. So of course you want to, so you can get the most out of life. Why? So you can have the most fulfilling and the most exciting life. That's the main benefit. And I want to talk about the three realms of human consciousness today. And do you even know we have three realms of human consciousness? We have the physical realm, we have the mental realm, and we have the spiritual realm. And this is known as the stairway of cells. And as we meditate, as we ascend from the lower levels of consciousness, of the physical up into the mental and into the spiritual, we gain power. We also gain levels of joy. Just notice how you feel when you're down in the lower realms of victimhood. We feel like a victim of these people. I felt like a victim. Watching my capital in my institutions that I love dearly being attacked, I was angry. I was full of fear, and that's good. It's not like we don't want it. I'm glad that it ignited that spark in me of fear and anger, that something that I care about, that I love and cherish, was being attacked. So let's go through. So the idea is we don't try to spiritually bypass these lower realms. We transcend and include them in our ascent and as we descend. So let's talk about this ladder of cells and what it really means here. And we're going to look at a number of things. We're going to look at one, the joy level, the life view, the life results, and the power level. And here's a line of demarcation, going from fear and falsehood into love and truth. And that's what we do here every day. We meditate to let go, to surrender of these lower levels that are there and present. We acknowledge them, we accept them as part of the journey. I mean, we certainly don't pretend like we weren't full of fear and afraid. And it put me in a dark night of the soul last week when all of us felt pretty miserable. Pretty miserable. And that's what you want to understand, is that the people who attacked us, they're coming from their victim as well. So that's why it's important for us not to acknowledge our victim, because we're conscious and aware that we're of who we are, that we're spiritual creatures and not just limited to these lower realms of consciousness. But when we react in these low, that's when we can create more violence. So it's important for us as enlightened beings spiritually enlightened beings to understand what's going on and become aware and begin to practice these principles as we learn growing up. So none of us are exempt from this world. We're part of it. So the lower realm is known as the victim, and we've all felt that. We certainly felt it a lot last week and experienced that. But look at the low level of joy. Look at the life view. We feel we're in poverty and we're at 30 watts of power. We're just very powerless. The next level, it's too fast. The next level is fear. We all experienced some fear last week. I know I did. Seeing I didn't know what was going to happen. To see our country attacked with guns and people running through the halls of the Capitol and with Confederate flags and anti-Semitic signs, that was just unimaginable. And of course it created fear. It's part of it. So we acknowledge that fear, but look, the world is frightening. We want to fight. We want to fight back. But that's why Jesus teaches us to love our enemy so that we don't fight back. We rise up to a high, like Obama said, when they go low, we go high. When they go low, we go high. And then the next level is desire. The human body desires something. It desires to be secure. It desires to be fed. It desires to get its own way. It desires to know the future. It desires things that it can't have, really. And there's my dear friend, Mindy. Hello, Mindy. Welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we're discussing the stairway of selves, how we ascend and descend into higher levels of consciousness. We descend deeper into our hearts as we ascend into higher vibrational energies. And it's so we got the trio here today. That's really great. So anyway, let's get going here. Let me continue. Hey, and I'm so glad you're here. And if you're watching the replay, for those of you watching, this is a really great teaching piece. And you can always get copies of these videos for yourself in the Financial Mystic Sanctuary Facebook group. They're all there for your leisure and for your watching and for your growth. Let's continue climbing up this ladder of cells, the stairway of cells, as we call it. And then there's anger. Was there anybody who wasn't angry? I'm angry. Nancy Pelosi was angry. We're all angry. But you know what? Everybody's angry. That's the whole point of the riot. Anger, that's anger unhinged, anger unleashed. That's why it's at this lower level of consciousness. Why it's so important. That's anger unleashed. Or as we like to say, unhinged. But here we go. Here's where the human mind comes in. All the lower level is all sort of physical, fear-driven, physical body type sensations we have. Emotions are felt in the body, and they're stored in the body as well. So to get out of that, we transcend from a place of entitlement. We say, oh, well, we're humans. We're entitled to something more, which is somewhat of an arrogant way of being, but it does pull us out of that lower domain. And so, and then we blame others. We're the victim. We know it's like an animal, a tiger or an animal. They don't know to blame. They're just down. They're always sort of in the physical realm. But we humans, go like, wait a minute. I know I deserve better than this. I'm better than this. And I am blaming Trump, and I am blaming his followers, and I am blaming the writers, and I'm blaming them. But the thing about it is, when we blame them and we look at that, we can begin to transcend the blaming of the person and begin to focus on the behavior and what's causing the behavior. because they have a sense of entitlement. They think that the country is theirs. They think because they're white, they're Christian, or whatever that is they believe that makes them superior to others. That's what this is about. It's still false. It's still fear-driven, but it comes from a place of entitlement. That if this is mine and it's my tribe, it belongs to me, and I'm the only one, and it's a pretty miserable place to be. As you see, it's just life is very disappointing. Everything's disappointing to you, and you're blaming, and you don't have a whole lot of joy. You're like 21% joy, and you don't have a lot of power. You're at 500 watts of power. And then finally, we get up to pride. That's the last level of of, of the fear-driven behaviors. We have pride. We want to control the world. We're not getting our way, so we want to find ways that we control others and manipulate others and enslave others to our ways and our needs. Very, very narcissistic. And boy, have we seen that in its full form last week. So just look at this and look at the behaviors and look at the joy level, look at the results and look at the power of what this world was like as a result of the behavior of certain people last week. We were in there. But it's not the end of the story, thank God. If we have the courage is the key that gets us over into truth. If we have the courage to face our fears, we have the courage to let go of these false beliefs that I'm a victim and that I do better and that I'm superior to others. We have a willingness to let go of all these beliefs and opinions, that my religion is better than yours and my skin color makes me superior to you. All these, we've got the courage to let go of them internally first. For all of us who are who are members of the LGBT community, one of the biggest obstacles we all have to face in our lives, for me and for many of us, is our own internalized homophobia, our own internalized attacks on ourselves for what we believe and learn from others to make us less than. But if we have the courage to challenge those fears and rise above them, then we move from fear to love and from falsehood to truth. And just look at how much our joy goes up. It doubles almost to 60%. And we begin to have a positive view on life, not a negative view on life. We begin to see life through the lens of opportunity and possibility. And look at what our power did. Our internal power went up 10 times from 1,000 watts of power to 10,000 watts of power. So now we have transcended and we've included the lower realms and we're moving up into higher. We can't really understand it, we just know it's there. And here we begin to have reason. We begin to think about what happened. And we begin to wonder why this happened. What's behind it? Instead of blaming people for doing it, we begin to find a reason, something that can make a sense out of it, not from a dualistic perspective, but from a non-dual perspective, from a creative perspective, from a growth perspective, from an expansion. So how do we begin to see this from the lens of an opportunity maybe to grow and expand? Something you could never, ever, ever begin to get familiar with at those lower realms. Once you move up into truth, once you begin to tap into that spiritual realm, that creative aware mind, then we become hopeful. We can hope for something better. We can hope for a better day. And we get very creative in thinking of ways to make that happen. And as we get more creative, as we pray, and prayer is the action of creation, in my view. As we pray, we begin to create it. We move into the world of acceptance. We move into a place of accepting everything exactly as it is, with love and gratitude as an opportunity to learn and grow. So that our perception of the event changes and enables us to love our enemy. That's why this is so important. It allows us to love the enemy within, because I'll tell you something, all these things that got triggered, those are all the parts of ourselves we don't like, you know. But we've done our practice here in meditation and contemplative prayer, and we've learned to love and accept ourselves and to love reality as it is without any means to change it. And look at how much better we feel. We're at 85% joy, and our power has gone up to 500,000 watts. We feel empowered. I know I did. When I finally gave up and surrendered a few days ago to this dark night that I was in, all of a sudden I just felt empowered by the divine, by the Holy Spirit, if you will. Great, powerful way to be. By the Spirit. You call it Holy Spirit, call it the Spirit. It is the spiritual realm that empowers us. Wisdom. We talk about the wisdom teaching. It's not about knowledge. It's not about the accumulation of data and facts. Wisdom is knowing a deeper truth within us. It is knowing there's something going on that's bigger than us, far bigger than us, is running this show and running the universe. I mean, just look at it. It's huge. And when we begin to look into the infinity and the enormity of the universe in which we live, we know there's no such thing as a lack of resources, a lack of money, a lack of time. That's what the wisdom teaches us. The wisdom teaches us the opposite of what the ego is always telling us. We don't have enough time, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough resources, blah, 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 all for me, all for me. But as we transcend into the realm of the spiritual realm, the world of love and creativity, we learn from the wisdom teachings of Jesus and other teachers over the years, Buddha, etc., about the beauty of who we are, and we learn the truth of who we are. We learn the truth of that spark of life within us that's growing and expanding, and we are certainly expanding and growing and flowering. As Eckhart Tolle says, this is the flowering of human consciousness. That's what the wisdom teaches us. It teaches us not to be afraid, because there's nothing to be afraid of. All the appearances look like something to be afraid of, but deeper inside, the wisdom teachings within ourselves. And it takes about the wisdom teachings, to me, when I read them, and people tell me about it, it's not about I'm learning something new. I'm being reminded. Think about that. Those deeper truths is we're being reminded of what we already know inherently within ourselves to be true. Because we've been having a relationship with that divine part of ourselves since the day we were born into this planet. So it's just kind of when we get off course, and this is just sort of steering us back into the reality of what that wisdom teaches us. Pretty cool, huh? And look at the level of joy. When I am comforted about, when I was reading about the apocalyptic perspective from Richard Rohr's perspective about it being a revealing of the truth, it put me in a whole new place of comfort and excitement and joy about what we're going through. It shifted it's the magic of transformation. Transformation, shadow work which is what I teach, is shadow work is the magic of transformation from fear to love. And we all have that power within us to make that happen. And that's why it's so important that we enjoy that and we experience it, but we need each other. I know I did a conversation with some spiritual teachers of mine over the last few days who helped me get out of my funk, who helped me get out of that lower level, who helped me shared some wisdom with me, as I'm sharing with you, on how do we move out of this lower level into a higher level of consciousness. We pray. And then we move into love. Just plain old love. 97% joy level. I love that word. I didn't pay much attention to it until today. Revelatory. What do we talk about? The book of Revelations. The events that we're having, if you look at it from a place of being revelatory, revealing of the truth, it takes on a whole new meaning. Then we begin to understand the cosmos is in perfect order. It appears in chaos in the ego-thinking mind, but for the spiritual mind, we begin to understand that from the Creator's perspective, from the cosmic perspective, it's all perfect, just the way it is. There's nothing we can do except be quiet and listen for our next instructions. And finally, on this stairway, we get to a space called unconditional love. And very, very few human beings have been able to transcend to this level of consciousness and be able to sustain it for any periods of time. Jesus, the Buddha, and some others, and some of the saints, except Mary Magdalene, I believe, if you read her scriptures, and the wisdom creatures of Sophia, you'll find that some of these women, particularly, I think, that got sort of eradicated from the church, that are coming back, were the ones that experienced the unconditional love, and we all may experience it sometimes. I'll tell you what it feels like to me. It's like all of a sudden I feel like the lights, the colors get brighter, and I feel like I'm feeling like there's just nothing to be afraid of. I mean, I feel completely free of all fear, and I just want to dance in the joy of the light. And then all of a sudden, it's like something closes back up, and opens and closes. You know, I can't make that happen, but I can create the conditions for it to happen. That's what prayer is all about. And I certainly never go into a place like that, go into that level of consciousness. But I would say last week, on a personal level, I was down in here a good bit. The events of last week triggered my dark night. This is where the dark night of the soul is. We're down here, trapped in what I call the drama triangle. And it's darkness. We feel alone, we feel isolated, and I was found myself curled up in the fetal position on the bed for hours. Because it was just felt like the world was falling apart, and it was from my perspective. The truth had been revealed, and the world as we knew it came to an end. I hope so. The end of the reign of fear and into the reign of joy, love. And look at our joy level up here. We're just radiant, and that's how we're born in this world. By the way, that's the universal Christ. That's what we're born into. This is what we are when we're born. 360 degrees of pure, unconditional love, light, energy. That's why we celebrate the birth of a baby. We specifically celebrate at Christmas time the birth of a baby named Jesus. I've said before, I don't know if the same baby that we celebrated in the mythical story would have ever existed. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't matter. But the story is quite beautiful and quite loving, and it's a metaphor for a whole new perception and consciousness that changed the way we perceive children in the world. And so that we can be thankful. So that's what I got for you today. And thank you for letting me share that with you and being present. Anybody have any questions or comments about that teaching? Again, you can find that on in our Facebook group, the Financial Mystic Sanctuary. It's in the unit section there too. These two courses, and you're welcome to take them anytime. And we'd love to have you part of our community. And we'd love to have you hear your comments and write some stories and what this experience has been like for you. I'm really trying to encourage us to. The healing is in the sharing of stories. The one thing I learned, Mindy and I both learned in our time at Ground Zero, is the power of listening to short stories. As people across the street from the church were digging out the remains of those who died, it was pretty hard on them, those firemen and others that were doing that. And what we did was we heard their stories. We listened with an open heart. And that's where the healing was. And like I say, I could probably speak for Mindy, but speak for yourself, you're here. But for me, the honor of being able to sit, I mean, I'm almost a little emotional thinking about it. Those were the times when I sat with these beautiful men and women who go across the street digging out body parts, and it was hard. It was really hard. And I was really honored and grateful to be in the space to help heal that as I am. And I think that's maybe part of the catalyst, if you will, for the creation of this. I know the power of sharing stories and healing, that power that has. Mindy, do you want to add anything to that? If you're there with me, gotta go. Voila. Set up the timer. So we can do some centering prayer today. 20 minutes. Connections. I have a close family member who is, she photographed me and probably will again next week. Many folks is in the building prayers and yes, thank you, Mindy. Thank you for that, Mindy. Yes, it's like the early responders. These people, these storytellers through the art of photography are there to hold space, to connect us to the events, to the story through their photography. And I think that's what we're seeing on television. And I think that we have to give them a lot, send them a tremendous. I'm going to say, Mindy, today, let's just, if you wouldn't tell us, if you want to tell us the name of your friend, your family member, I believe it's your sister, if I recall, but remember that. But I'd like to just, with intention, put all of these journalists and photojournalists and people who are in harm's way as a dedication to this meditation today, and our love and support of the work they're doing to help us heal from this tragedy. And I don't think it's over yet. I think we got some more to go, but I think we're at least more prepared. So we are sending all of those people our prayers. And as the bell just went off, it's just a reminder to wake up and let go. So let's just include Mindy's sister, Bonnie Jo. I have a dog named Betty Jo. Is her middle name Josephine? So let's say some love and prayers to Mindy's. Open our hearts to her courage right now to come from her passion to want to capture these historic events on film or photography, digital photography, I guess now, to help us keep it present in a way that we can feel something we can learn from it. So as we get still, feel your feet on the floor and your butt in the chair, anchor yourself in physically into the moment, and begin to breathe. Just begin to notice your breathing. You practice what's called conscious breathing, which is exactly what it sounds like. We focus our conscious energy for a few minutes just on the breath. We use the breath as a way to anchor. You might even expand your belly and breathe deeper into that, relaxing. And you'll notice, wow, you've been holding a lot of tension in there. We hold a lot of fear in our bellies and tension. So the invitation is to expand, breathe deep into the belly and expand it. Find your anchor. Find that anchor deep within you. And breathe that energy through your butt. from the ground, from Mother Earth, to ground us and hold us. As we breathe down the energies from above, infinite possibilities from the Father above. Connect those energies in the heart. Visualize and breathe the connection, the loving and nurturing energies of Mother Earth, and the hope and the possibilities and the creativity of Father Sky. So we align ourselves with the divine nature above and below. And just breathe and sit in that space. Let go of every thought, opinion you have for what we call horizontal plane. Allow that bell to wake us up from our thoughts and our opinions and our stories and our narratives, and just let them go. Open your heart a little more fully and fall back into that wonderful, beautiful emptiness, stillness of unconditional love. There's that bell to wake us up, to reset, to let go. All the narratives, all the thoughts, all the opinions, good or bad, right or wrong, all that stuff in our head, just let it go. Let it all go. Surrender it all. Hold on to nothing. Fall deeper inside yourself. There's that wonderful bell again to wake us up so we can let go of all our thoughts, opinions, beliefs, judgments, all that activity in our brilliant minds. Just say thank you and let it go. Breathe into your belly, into your heart, and follow yourself into the deeper regions of yourself. Fall deep below the surface. To the stillness of love. There's our ending bell. One thing I want to make sure I say, because we used this wonderful illustration of the stairway of cells with permission from my coach, one of my coaches, Steve D'Annunzio over at the Soul Purpose Institute. And so I just want to acknowledge and thank Steve and the Soul Purpose, the wonderful work they're doing to inspire and transform the planet, the business community particularly. And thank him also for, and Rayanne, who was my coach, personal coach, for all the love and support they gave me into understanding in this business. So this was not created by me, the Stairway of Cells. It was created by Steve D'Annunzio, and it was given to us with permission to share it with you. So I want to thank him for that. Anybody else got anything they want to add? Any new discoveries? Anything they want to? If you're watching the replay, which I find that more people watch the replay than come live. I hope you'll get some value out of this and join us in the Financial Mentions Sanctuary. Share your stories. Share where you're coming from. Share where you are. Don't hold it up inside. I wrote something this morning to someone. Just wrote an email, and it was like about what I was going through, what I was feeling, and just in that, I felt so much better. There's the power in writing and sharing our stories is huge. And I even posted something today from Richard Rohr about the power of storytelling. It's the power of storytelling that we can change the narrative. And and we got to start with changing the narrative within ourselves. Yes, learning how to let go. Isn't that? It seems so just simple, but it isn't easy, is it? We just want to hold on so tight to things that don't. And I'll tell you something. You might want to write. I know you're a great speaker and a writer and a thought leader, Audrey. One of the things you might want to ask yourself is, whatever I'm holding on to, I ask myself and write about, how is this serving me? How is holding on to this belief or this opinion or this judgment or something that's I'm holding on to that I'm aware. So the beauty is the things we don't want to let go of, exactly the things we need to let go of. So we ought to pay attention to that and use that as a space to write, reflect, and heal. So if you think, well, if you got something that you're like, how is it serving me? And then what is it costing me to hold on to this? And see what you discover about yourself. What you discover it's inquiry. It's the use of spiritual principles of inquiry to kind of like to find the validation in this belief that you have that you don't want to let go of. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And I really want to encourage every single person right now. We have been through what's going on below the surface is only a fraction. What's going on above it is only a fraction of what's going on below the surface here. We are part of the cosmos. We are part of the life force. We are part of the energy creative force of the universe. And it is shifting. It is shifting cosmically, and it's shifting within us. So just surrender, let go, and know you're loved. You don't have to do it alone. You can't do it alone. It's impossible. We're here together. We're here to love each other through it. So again, thank you so much for joining me again today. It's just such a joy to have you here. I'm not sure how I could get through this without you. I couldn't. Apparently, I couldn't get through. This noonday power hour has been my rock, if you will, of getting through this pandemic. It's a way to express my story and my feelings and get things out of here and put them out there, and others will join and benefit from that. You will benefit from that as well. Also, I want to tell you, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'm in Puerto Rico for this final week, and tomorrow we're going to be traveling over to a part of the island to visit my husband's friend, our friend Roberto, and they don't have internet over there. So instead of making through all the fuss I went through last time to try to get prepared and get over to the place, and then find I can't get them, so tell you, I won't be here tomorrow because I don't have internet tomorrow where I'm going to be. But I'll be back on Thursday. If you like, watch a replay. But definitely meditate, maybe reach out to a friend, give them a call, let them know you care. A lot of people who don't have this, they're afraid. Just maybe think about 3 or 4 people you haven't thought about and just tell them how much you love and care for them and you're thinking about them through this difficult time. Yeah. Now is the time. And maybe there's somebody you're not getting along with so well. Just reach out, maybe just send them a note or text, just let me know I love you. They might be afraid. I have a friend that actually was a Trump. He revealed to me recently that he was a Trump supporter, and just like this week, he revealed to me. I had no idea. And he also went down there as part of the riots. We're going to deal with that, I guess, eventually. But I told him at the time, I said, this is more words than I can handle right now. I got to take this up later. But I said, I did want you. I do love you. I know that this is shadow behavior, but I do love you. I don't condone your behavior. We'll take a look at that, but I do love you. You're not my enemy. To me, you're just a very confused person who's sitting in ignorance and darkness, sitting below that line of falsehood and truth, and can't see the light. That's what it is. All those people out there, they're in that world of falsehood and fear. Or they wouldn't behave that way. That's the definition of violence. You do not hate Love does not drive violence. Fear drives violence. So if you're acting out of fear, you're acting out of shadow. And so now is the time to love those people who are acting out of shadow because they appear to be our enemies. They're not. They're not our enemy. Trump is not our enemy. He's just not. His behavior is horrible. And he ought to go to jail. But anyway, may love and prosperity be found.